Style Design School of Fashion. Today I'll be showing you how to make a petticoat for a mermaid dress or a mermaid skirt. Okay, we're going to start by drafting the top part of the petticoat, which will be a pencil skirt. So the length of your pencil skirt will depend on where the flare is starting on the body. So when you are making a mermaid dress, the flare could start from anywhere from under bust to above knee. Okay, so I have my skirt pattern here, and for that part I'm going to be using a very light what's it called, cotton material. Okay, it's very light. Sometimes if you wish and the wearer doesn't mind the itch, you can actually use the net that we'll be using for the down part also for the top, or you can use chiffon or taffeta, any light fabric. Okay, so I have my pencil skirt. This is the down part and this is the top. The top is a little bit big because I'm going to be using a 1-inch elastic for this top to gather it together and to hold it at the waist. So it's going to have a band. So you cut it to the length that you need. So this is the skirt part. The next thing is to cut the flare part, which we're going to cut in 180 degrees. Okay, I believe most of you should know how to cut in 180 degrees, but I'll just quickly show those who doesn't. Okay, so basically this is what you're going to do. Let's say this is your fabric. You're going to fold lengthwise like this, and the length here must be equal to the length you want plus the circumference you need. How do you determine the circumference? You measure around the knee or whatever part of the body is where the flare is going to start, depending on how tight you want to be. So this one is starting somewhere below the butt, so you measure around that part. Whatever you get there, you divide it by 6.28 like you do for a full circle, but since this is 180 degrees, you're going to multiply whatever you get further by 2. For instance, if I calculate, I measure around the waist, and whatever value I have, I divide it by 6.28. If I have 5 inches, I'm going to multiply that 5 inches by 2 to get 10. So I'm going to add that 10 inches to the length of the flare that I need. That is from wherever it's starting on the bodies to the ankle area. You don't want it to be too long. It mustn't be longer. Your petticoat mustn't be longer than the dress or the skirt on top. So let's say I want the length to be 20 inches. 20 plus 10, that is 30 inches. So the length I must look for here must be 30 inches. So after getting that, let's say this is my 30 inches. You draw your circle the normal way you would do, like this. You measure your 30 inches all around. Then the 10 inches for the upper part, you measure it round that, then you cut it, and that is how you get your 180 degree flare. Okay, so that's what I have done here. I'm going to be cutting that from my net. Okay, it's hard net, it's not tulle, it's a little bit hard. Okay, but it's not also too hard. So after doing that, depending on the length of this flare, I'm going to divide it into like equal parts. So if it's longer than this, I may need more lines, but since it's not so long, I've just measured 6 inches from the down part. I'll draw the 6 inches all around to mark where I'll put my crinoline. Then I'll take another 6 inches up and screw it upward like this. Then you mark it. I'm not sure you can see my markings, but I've done my markings all around here, all around, so that it will be easy for me when I'm stitching. So once that is done, I'm going to cut the remaining net. Okay, so this is like 72 inches long. It's folded into 2, and the width is 6 inches. That is the width. It must be like what I have here, or a little bit longer, but it shouldn't be shorter. It's better if it's not shorter, so that it can overlap a little bit. So I'm going to cut this as many pieces as possible, because the more you gather around this edge, the fuller your underskirt will be. So here I have like 9 pieces of this. I may use more or less, but when we get it, but just make sure that whatever you are using is at least 2 to 3 times more than the length you have here. Okay, so we also need our crinoline. Now I'll get to the sewing machine, and the first thing I will do is to place my crinoline. The down part here will be on the line that I've created. So I'm going to stitch on top. I'll copy, you know, the crinoline is very flexible, so that you can take it around the curve. I'll stitch like that on the top. Then when I'm done stitching it on both lines, I'm going to take my the 6 inches that are cut. I'll start from the top here, and I'll start splitting it. Sometimes some people skip this top. If you like, you can. If it's going to be at the waist, I might have skipped it, but I want that place to be, lift up a little bit, so that's why I won't do it much, but I'm going to pleat around the edge like this. Then I will do the same thing for the 2 lines. But when I want to do this second line, remember that I already have my crinoline on top like this. This is the line. I've already stitched my crinoline here, so I'm going to stitch the net. I'm going to gather it on the down part here. On the down part, I'm sorry, everything is just white. The table is white, the net is white, the crinoline is white, but I hope you can see it. So this is the line. This is where my crinoline is. I've stitched this top, but this part is still open. So on top of that part, I'm going to gather my this net that costs 6 inches. But instead of just gathering it like this, I'm going to do it this way, on top like this, so that when I'm done, I'll flip it over and stitch on top. This is allowing it to lift up a little bit more. So quickly, let's do that, and then we'll come back and move on to the next stage. Okay, the next stage is to attach this down part to the down part of our skirt. By this time, you would have taken your 1/2 inch seam allowance on both sides. You could turn in your band, or maybe if you are adding a band on top. Then we're going to stitch this circle. We'll join it at the side and stitch to this. But before we do that, let's just fix all this. Okay, I'm all done. The first thing I did was to place the crinoline on top. We have 2 layers of crinoline. Then at the bottom of the crinoline, we pleated the first layer of net. Then the second layer of the net also on the bottom of the second crinoline. Okay, then the last step I didn't tell you about was where we put a bias strip. Although if you're not looking for something very rigid, you can skip this part. But because I want to use what's it called, boning, I want to use it so that it can actually stand like this. Okay, that's why we have to put a bias to create a channel. So I place my bias on the upper part of the boning, so that you create a channel in between the bias. You make sure that the bias strip you use is big enough to contain your what's it called, your boning. And once you are done, you join the end parts. So I just use another bias strip to turn it in, just so that the rough edges are turned inside. And if I want, I can also put another boning here. So I'll be using two layers of boning, because I put 2 channels. And once you do it, when you are fixing your bias strip, make sure that you leave a longer piece at the end, and you don't stitch all the way, so that you join this back side first before you now join your bias strip together to create a continuous channel. It's better that way, so that when you pass your boning inside, it can just go all the way around, and then you leave a space where your boning will enter through. So that's basically it for the down part. And I have my skirts, because this is a mermaid skirt. If I'm using a regular ball gown, I won't need this upper part. I'll just put a band here, and this will be my my petticoat. But because it's a mermaid skirt, you know, the play will not start at the waistline. It starts below the butt. So I have my skirt. I've attached the elastic. So the next thing I'm going to do now is to pleat the top part, because I made it a little bit bigger just to create a little more fullness. So I'll attach it to the down part. Once that is done, the final stage will be to insert the boning in my channel that I've created. I'll just insert it. To make it easy, I usually wrap the edge here with paper tape so that it doesn't tear my neck. So basically that's it for that's how to make a petticoat. So that's it for this class. I hope you practice, and when you practice, please share with us on our Facebook group, the Inspired Design School of Fashion. And if you have any question, you can drop it either on the group or here on the channel. All right. If you have not yet subscribed to my channel, please do. You're going to find very interesting videos on this channel, and I promise to upload even more interesting ones. You can drop a comment on any class you're interested in that you would love for me to take on dressmaking, shoe and bag making, and accessories, stuff like that. That's what I do. And make sure you turn on your notifications so that anytime I drop any video, you get notified. So I'll quickly fix the boning, then I'll show you what it looks like on the mannequin. Until next time when we meet, stay